Yeah.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you are watching and wherever you are watching. This is Daniela Di Cascata, and today I have Charles Burton here, who is now in Zlin. Hi, Charles.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm very excited
Good.
because this is the second series of interviews that I'm doing, and I have chosen a few amazing creators of a better place on the planet, and I'm very happy that you are willing to share with me not only information about your work, which we do in the first series of interviews, but the second series goes a little deeper. So we look into, what actually a person had to um, go through so that there is the field of wisdom that that person can share with others. Because like our life mission, we get on it when we go through things which are not only pleasant, right? So today it will be also a little bit about, maybe pain, maybe different issues,
Very.
how to actually you've been able to have this amazing knowledge and wisdom about self-worth and self-love and accepting your body and making it better. Because Charles, tell me, how did you gather this wisdom? It doesn't come just like that. You have to go through your own processes with your connection with your body and self-love and self-worth.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I believe it's something, it's like an evolution. You have to go through things, and one by one, it sort of builds up a ladder of, and you end up like a monument standing strong. I have, my name, Charles, is a very posh name. And I do remember when I was young, introducing myself as Charles, and people saying to me, "Oh, you don't look like a Charles." And
Oh my God.
I would say to them, my name doesn't have a color. And
Like,
what I actually was saying to them is that please don't judge me because I should have some Caribbean African name because I don't look like a Charles. And it's one of the things. I'm born in a place not far from Cambridge, so my accent is very Cambridge English. And many times I was in situations where people talked about dark people on the phone, not realizing they were talking to a dark person
yes.
simply because of my name and because of my accent. So I think you go through things like this where you begin to sort of arm yourself and you almost begin to mock people who start to have stereotypes about you according to your color of your skin. Um, I'm one of 8, so I have 4 brothers, 4 sisters from a relatively poor family. We moved from council homes to council homes. My mother and father had menial jobs, and my mother was pregnant every year with another child. So poor background. And the one thing that was instilled in all of us was education, 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 and be proud of who you are. And I think that's always stayed with me. So I lived in a town which was very cosmopolitan. I had Muslim, Sikh, Hindu, African, Caribbean, European friends, and that's the environment I came from, and I grew up like that. So, I see my friends now, many of them in mixed relationships with children, and that's the world I've come from. So I can imagine, and I was in a way prepared for the mockery I had, for example, when I came to Czech Republic. Czech Republic is a mono society, um, and that's the reality. So I had to experience and smile, and I still smile at some of the differences that carry on. In fact, only yesterday, I was shopping yesterday, and I heard a man speaking loud and clear in Czech about foreigners and Africans and Corona. And I turned and smiled and just fluttered my cousin, wearing a mask, lifted my eyebrows, and I turned to the man nearby and I said to him, I said it in Czech, I said, I mustn't laugh, but you can't see me laughing. And I said to him, I didn't realize Corona started in Africa. And then we laughed together. But this chap came over to me and continued his conversation. He actually was very unwell, coughing, and I just thought this is an example of people who have problems. And I could get offensive, but the most important thing is that I actually used it against him, for him to look like someone who's quite ignorant and naive. I went to school, like I said before, cosmopolitan school, girlfriends, boyfriends of all different nationalities, and that wasn't a problem at all. When I was still 15, 16, I joined the local athletics club. And the one good thing about sport was that it took you around the country. So you went to places that were very white English. And I do remember being told, oh, we've never seen darkies like you before. Where are you from? And I'm thinking, well, I'm in England and you're English, and my accent is actually, my English is better than yours. Um, and I remember just having to stand tall and almost mock people. I shouldn't, but one of the things it does teach you is to be proud of the roots where you come from. You know, my father is Jamaican, my mother is from a small island in the Caribbean. My grandmother is Chinese. So people
Ooh, I didn't
often,
know.
yeah, so people often start coming out with all kinds of things about Africans, and I'll say, wait a minute, I'm not. I'm from the Caribbean, and my grandmother is Chinese, and they're completely thrown by it. But I want them to be thrown by it. I want them to be, for their heads to start spinning. When I was about 11, I had a white English couple decided to look after me. And that was an experience in itself, because they took me out of my family at weekends and they looked after me like their son. It meant they took me to very posh places and areas that I would never have the experience of going to. And I witnessed firsthand how they dealt with people who were racist towards me. They were fiercely defensive of me, and with anyone who said anything about the black boy, they said he has a name, call him by his name. And you know, I think I carry that now. I carry the idea that you must stand, look at your roots. I'm not telling people to be patriotic, but look at the ground where you stand in and where you come from, and use that to stand tall. Because it's one of the things, not just about walking out on the street, it's also learning to love yourself and love who you are and love your body. I remember being at school, they used to make fun of my bottom. It was rounded. It was rounded, and it was, and I thought, yeah, but it's mine. And I meant it, and I still mean it now. When I came to live here in Zlin, I was told in the village, I'm very short. And I thought, really? Because I've come from England. No one told me I was short in England. I said, yeah, you're really short. And I would say, yeah, and you're really white. And what? So you can see I keep this approach of almost, it's going back to the whole idea of saying to people, don't compare yourself to other people. You know, you may not about your body, you may not be happy about a body part. Embrace it, work with it, because every moment you take to say, I want to make a change, is every moment you go forward. Every day that you spend sitting on it and feeling sorry for yourself is every day you go backwards. And that's whether you deal with your body or your mind. So I train people daily. I dance daily. I'm very proud that my daughters dance, and they love dancing. They actually dance, I say, they dance from deep within themselves. And they appreciate what they do. They have their own styles, completely different to me, and that's fine. Just that they love dance, but also at the same time, when they are critical about themselves, I tell them you're beautiful, love yourself, and I say this to everybody. So I train and I work with people who could be young children. I work with ladies who are retired. I teach dance to a group of ladies, some of them in their 70s, and they know how to do the Michael Jackson moves. And that's because it's letting them know to learn and love themselves and just do what you love doing, do more of it and share. So that's what I instill. So it might feel like a paradox for some people that I'm a trainer and I dance, so I should be looking for perfection. But the perfection is all about you being comfortable with yourself, and that's really what I drill into everyone. Yeah, that's really where I'm coming from.
Thank you very much, Charles, for this lovely introduction. And what really kind of shocked me even was the first story when you talked about, someone doubting your name, because like we all get these, judgments of, let's say, the body or what we say, but someone doubting your name, that must have been really very painful for you, and especially as a child, so could you maybe talk a bit more about this? Because, like name is something like one of the very few things we feel like nobody can take from us, yeah, because it is our name, right? Would you just say
Yes,
a few
yes.
words about this?
When I was younger, I wanted to be called Charlie, and it is a paradox because Charlie's a relaxed, comfortable name. When I was at home, I was only called Charles. I remember the shift from being happy to be called Charlie to being called by my name Charles, because I wanted people to know that this is my name. It might have royal connections to it, but this is me. And I'm not going to water down myself and be called like a jokey Charlie, because I'm not a Charlie. My name is Charles. And in fact, I've often been in situations where I will announce my name, and my full name is Charles Anthony Burton. And I would do it like that in order to say to them, yes, this is me, and I'm standing tall. And don't call me anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's people, yeah. So I think it's for me. I find it ridiculous when someone decides to detract or find a substitute name
Mm-hmm.
for someone else. Because I'll say, well, actually, that's not my name. This is my name.
This is
And it's important that names are important.
what you are saying actually, and I work with this a lot with women, because a lot of women, in the Czech Republic, they, even though being pretty, adult, they still keep using these Zuzanka, Zuzka, Alenka, Milenka,
Yeah.
Janka, and it really, when the name is so much important that when you stick to the diminutive or whatever is the English name for this,
Yes.
it keeps you in this role of a child. You are not
Yeah.
able to really accept the adult self. And so,
Yes.
Charles, you have actually a very beautiful first name, and I really like it, and it fits you beautifully.
My dear.
And some more of the topics that you mentioned, it's like, I think what we have in common is that we are really great mirrors, because I see myself and you very much as, like some constant connection with consciousness and the source.
Yes.
We wouldn't have much of our own judgments about other people or these, opinions or anything. We just, come to a person and we really can see people, from our heart.
Yeah.
And I think that's what connects us. And I think we serve as great mirrors. You with people really ventilating various kinds of judgments and their own dissatisfaction on you, through you, What I bring
Yeah.
when I, enter a space, it's very often that people, and especially women, but sometimes also men, they feel threatened and they feel competitive, and they have a projection inside me that I am a competitive person, They often like accuse me of this, but it's
Yes. Yes.
of the person. So is the judgments that people ventilate on you. So I think we both are very much of catalysts of people's issues that need to be shifted, maybe
Absolutely.
further or
Yeah.
something like that. So, and it's very interesting, like you mentioned this African roots and people feeling so very disconnected from the black color and Africa,
Yeah.
all these things. But I really, ever since my childhood, I feel so strongly black roots inside me, and
Yes.
I had this, I would never survive my puberty if it wasn't for Michael Jackson. And I really still resonate very much with his legacy, because he
Yes.
had a big legacy, during his life, a lot of which, only was understood, 10, 20 years later, but
Yes.
I think he is a very good example of the person who really was still connected with the black roots, and then he was able to succeed in the white
Yeah.
world
Absolutely.
early
Absolutely.
times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sorry, just to finish this, and I have another guru, which is also, I don't have many gurus in my life, but I had this Michael Jackson in the period of my puberty, and I had this Oprah Winfrey recently when I was going through some crisis,
Yes.
and she really empowered me, and you do this to people also, you empower people, and you help people remember their self-worth, you did it
Yeah.
me a few times by some sentences you said, and that's really rare, people don't do this very often, but I really feel this empowering power very much, uh, from people of really black color. I don't want to differentiate people, but I just,
Yeah.
for you, the life has been so demanding regarding self-worth that you have this power to really give it to other people as gifts. Right?
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, I think it really does. You find it comes back. I've lived here for 15 years, and I'm always amazed by the strangers who've helped me. And then when I look at them, I realize that they embrace cultures. They know their roots. They embrace other cultures, and it's almost like they were saying to themselves, "We're here together, and we're here to help each other." And they're, I would say, colorblind, if there's an expression. Um, they don't look at my shoe size, my bank account, the size of my ears, the size of my nose, the color of my skin. It's simply looking and saying we are people, and we're here to embrace and help each other. So I think a lot of that, I grew up when I was younger, going to clubs where if you were black, they wouldn't let you into the club. You weren't allowed into the club. And there were certain clubs where you simply wouldn't go to. There are certain bars you would not walk into because you'll see the Union Jack or the English flag outside, and you wouldn't walk in there because it's full of national fronters or fascists. So, and then there started to become a shift because my father and mother came over to Britain in the early 60s, and they thought they were coming over to their mother country. When they got here, to Britain, they suddenly realized there was a lot of racism and a lot of obstacles put there. The British government wanted to stop the flow of them, but they had a problem because they needed people to work in the industry. They brought them over from their mother country. They tried to restrict them, but they couldn't because they'd already got them over, and they'd given them indefinite leave. So a lot of the laws had to change, quite different to American history. A lot of the laws had to be lifted, and they tried to limit and restrict, for example, benefits to people from black countries, Africa, the Caribbean, but most of them came straight into work, employment, so they weren't claiming benefits. And although I was from a poor family, my mother never claimed benefits. She'd rather work day and night. My father would work in a steel industry because she always said, I'm not taking money from the government. So this is one of the paradoxes when they talk about foreigners going into other countries and take. It's actually not true. When you look statistically at education, people who've come into Britain with children who had to learn the language do better in education than the white English. And those are stats. Those are stats that come out with every single year. So it shows that there's a drive to integrate and to go forward and to learn. So I think I carry all these little things with me. And I say to people, stand tall. It's one of the things, for example, 1968, the Soviet Union came into Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia, occupied Czechoslovakia in 68. In 1968, at the very same time, the American forces were beating hell out of and separating black and white, people who wanted equal rights. So you had two completely different places fighting for equal rights. But in America, they knew nothing about what was going on in Czechoslovakia. In Czechoslovakia, knew nothing of what was going on about what was going on in America. But these same things are about people fighting for equal rights and just civil liberty. When I look at pictures, it's difficult until you see the Czech or English writing that it's Czech Republic, Czech, or it's America, because the same things are happening at the same time. So I carry this whole thing, you know, I see friends in Zlin or people who've come into Zlin from Africa, and I always say to them, you know, make sure you walk with your head up. Never walk with your head down. Anyone stares at you, say, Dobry den, and say it with a big smile, because they're probably staring at you because they don't know what to do with someone your color. So you need to introduce them, you need to help them. And that's one of the first things I did when I came here. Anyone who stares at me, I will say good day to them. It's quite scary, but it means I'm empowered.
Well,
and I think that has a lot.
I'm actually realizing that I'm struggling with the same topics because I live in a foreign country. I live in Croatia. I come from the Czech Republic.
Yes.
And yes, I was thinking recently, last few days or weeks, that I have to really face people, you know, more directly, because like whenever I come to a place, they feel I am different, that I am not from here. And especially now that there is no touristic season, so clearly I can speak the language pretty well. So, you know, when I talk to them, they kind of feel safe because I kind of belong here. But yes, I think this advice about, you know, giving the big smile and just like removing any fears and obstacles is really out of this. But yeah, I've been facing very similar issues, you know, because like I've been spending a lot of time here past few years, and I actually, you know, only left here extremely lot of money which I earned somewhere else. And so but sometimes I'm also like, and I benefited in some ways, like I just went through some trainings and so on. So but you know, when I make some final calculation, then I definitely brought a lot of money to this country, you know.
Yes.
And, but yeah, I often meet people who just make me feel like I really came here to take something away from them.
Yeah.
And I actually came here to give something to them, and I hope it will happen. Well, I hope it's happening already every day, maybe.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the, you know, people start to own territory. You know, you hear of, you know, on a very basic level, you hear of neighbors who fight over 1 meter of fencing or a tree that leans over into their garden. If people can do that when they have lots of space, of course they're going to start, when they don't feel good about themselves, they're going to start looking at differences around them and saying, this person has taken, this person has got. And that's almost because people do carry fear. And fear is one of the things we have to conquer and deal with. It's also people feeling inferior within, and they need to stand tall. I often have, for me it's a funny situation, because I train, when I walk on a beach and I'm just in my swimming trunks, you know, people might acknowledge that I train. And I always laugh when I see comfortable men who train and those who are not comfortable. Because when I walk along the beach and someone who's, you know, comfortable with their sport, what they do, they may have muscles everywhere, they'll see me, we nod each other like, yes, we're in it together. And then I might see some big, freaky, anabolic filled bodybuilder walking along, and he'll see me and he'll puff up his body like a pigeon. And I just think, oh, I made him feel small. And look, he's bigger than me, but and you know, I think this isn't just about bodybuilding. You see this in all walks of life. People who are comfortable with themselves will embrace what you do and almost say, oh, you're doing this, I'm doing that. And those who aren't comfortable will almost want to attack you and show to you that you're superior. And I just want to hug them and go, oh, listen, it's okay. Really, it's okay. And maybe that's something that you experienced as well.
And
That people just,
well, speaking of the beach, and we have just a few minutes left, so
yeah.
because I can see this beautiful painting of your mother behind you. And so we know all about these amazing talents that you have for dancing and fitness and empowering people. And I hope that there will come time when I will be able to create this retreat, which would be called like the boat of abundance, or the sail of abundance.
yes,
And I would love to
yeah,
a beautiful retreat, a luxury sail, catamaran, or something like that, where I would invite people like you who really empower people. And there would be a program which would include becoming the artist and making your body a temple. And you yourself have been to Croatia, and you told me that Croatia was a great space or place for you to actually become more of the painter that you are also. So can you just say a few words about that? And then our
oh
time.
yes, yeah. Yeah, so going to Croatia meant I took my sketch pads, pencils, I went out, sat in a coffee shop, started painting. Staff came over, very interested. They even told me about artists. They brought artists to me. They brought me drinks. They begged me to paint relatives the next day or children, wanting to know when I was coming back to the restaurant. I remember a situation where I was painting a beach scene, and a group of ladies walked past me going to the church, and they were dressed in black. And they walked past me, they looked at the picture, and the next day, one of the women from the group came to me with a large box of chocolate just to say thank you. And it was just because she's seen the picture and she was happy with it. And I was so overcome with it. She wanted nothing, didn't speak a word of English, but just came to do that. And I think for me also, I was in Croatia 2 years ago. My daughter broke her arm. She was 4 years old, broke her arm, so she spent her time with me, couldn't go on the beach, but I had lots of pencils and crayons for her. So I went along to cafe bars and restaurants. She had her pencils, she was drawing. Other children joined. Their parents are very happy. So I had a little nursery of children sitting in the bar, and the bar owners will say to me, "Can your daughter come to our house?" And I said, "Yeah, she can go." And it became, she suddenly had new friends. I had a whole bar of people who were friends wanting to buy the picture, and I think it just helped me to realize that people are actually beautiful. When you relax, when you let go, and when you say to people, this is all it is about sharing. And that's all we're doing. And I'm just putting my expression on a canvas, and people appreciate it, and we share and we talk. And that's going to places, not knowing anyone at all, and realizing that any medium can link people together.
And this is a very beautiful story, actually, because I believe that why you really opened the hearts of these people and why you attracted them and why it felt such a nice, interaction for both of you is that you were, so fully in yourself, in this artistic trance. And then, the person just has a beautiful energy, which really open hearts of people. And also, I think in Croatia, people do appreciate artists really because
Yeah.
for many people, life has been hard here, for decades, actually not many people know that because we see Croatia as, the tourism-based country with all these, pleasure activities. But especially
Yes.
here where I live, in Dalmatia, people had very, very heavy lives, because the land is very, there's a lot of stone, there's not so much soil and all of this. And so they do appreciate artists really, and the lightness that artists bring, So, oh my God,
Yes.
I would love to really see you soon here, close to the
Yeah, I'd love to.
maybe with your daughters,
Yeah,
painting whales, dolphins, boats of abundance, and all these, and
absolutely.
all that.
Yes.
So, thank you, Charles, very much for this
Thank you very much. Thank
coming
you.
out about really interesting topics, and I'm sure you are, really helping a lot of people to come to their self-worth and self-love. And thank you for your work very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for having me.